Hi, I'm Anne Marie from Teacher to Teacher Help, and in today's video, I'd like to share with you how you can use an engagement inventory to help give reading grades. So I get asked this question all the time. When I'm teaching reading workshop or writing workshop, how do I give a grade? I don't have workbook pages or worksheets that I can just collect and mark them up and give a percentage grade. So it's a complicated answer, but my answer always starts with, what do we value? First, we have to define what we value and then ask, are we collecting data? Are we assessing evidence of those things that we value? And then giving a grade is just reporting to outside stakeholders how our students are doing with regard to what we value. Okay, so let's take engagement. To me, engagement is everything. If my readers aren't engaged, then there's nothing else that I teach them that is going to matter as much. So I value engagement. So once I defined that engagement is a skill or a set of skills that I value, I had to ask myself, am I assessing, am I collecting data? And in a previous video, I shared with you how you can use an engagement inventory to get a class at a glance, or even zoom in on small groups or individual readers to assess students' engagement during independent reading, or you could do it during independent writing. So then if I've gathered that information, I first defined that I value engagement in reading. I know that's going to grow my readers. Then I'm assessing some data. I can actually use that data in a couple of ways. In the previous video, I shared with you how I could use that data to pull small groups using an if-then way of thinking. So if my readers are disengaged during independent reading time, then I need to find out what it is that's getting in their way. If their books are too hard for them, they're going to be disengaged because they can't read them. I need to help them find books that are just right. If they aren't reading a book that they love, then I need to help them find books that they love. So see, if then. But I can also use that data that I've collected for a summative assessment to report to outside stakeholders how students are doing with their engagement. So I'm going to share with you a way that one teacher that I worked with, first of all, defined that he valued engagement and then collected data and then used that to give one reading grade, not an overall reading grade, but one reading grade. So let me show you a copy of his conferring notes. So this is a class at a glance conferring notes where this teacher uses these little boxes with students' names in them to collect data throughout a unit. I think this one actually is from a writing unit, but this works for both reading and for writing. So let me zoom in and show you what this teacher does for engagement. So he will do an engagement check periodically. And he doesn't use, in a previous video, I showed you how you could use codes. This is a different way of doing it. He just puts a check if the student is engaged and an X if they are disengaged. Now, what he can do with this is at the end of, say, 10 days, he can count these up and say, all right, AJ was disengaged 2 times out of, say, 10, if there were 10 marks there. And he can put that as a grade, as a score, a quiz grade for engagement, 8 out of 10 for engagement. Now that collects over time, that information collects over time, and we are using it as formative assessment, again, to guide our conferences in small groups. But now we're also able to report to parents. So when a parent sees a 7 out of 10 engagement grade, we can have a conversation. You know, your child is not going to grow as a reader if they are constantly being disrupted in their reading. They're not engaged. They can't find books that are just right. So this is important to me. It's important enough to gather information. It's important for me to instruct, and it's important for me to report to you how they're doing. So I just wanted to share that with you as a way to use a tool for formative assessment, but then also think about some out-of-the-box ways that you can give reading and writing grades based on what you're noticing by zooming in on just one little skill and collecting that data.